Hi boys and girls, thanks so much for joining us for week 3 of our story about Joseph. So there's going to be a picture up here on the screen and I want you to have a think about what it is. Yes, that's right, it's a mouse trap. Now, in our last house, it was a big old house and it was lovely, but sometimes in big houses there's little holes at the bottom of the walls or in the floorboards, and sometimes mice can get through into the house. Now, we like mice, but something that mice do is they get into your kitchen and into your cupboards and they start eating all your food. So they bite little holes in all the bags and they munch away at all your food. Now, like I said, we like mice, but we don't really like sharing our food with mice. So what we had to do was we had to use mouse traps. Okay, so what we did was we had to put something that was very tempting on one side of the trap. Right, this is what we used. We used peanut butter because apparently mice love peanut butter. Okay, this is something else that we tried to use, chocolate, and that would tempt me for sure. Someone else in our families thought that Mars bars would be good to catch mice, and they were right. So what happened was we set these traps all over the house and we put our peanut butter or our chocolate on the traps. And really what we did was we played a trick on the mice, okay? So we knew that the mice would want to eat the food. So once the mouse smelled the peanut butter or the chocolate, and once it stepped onto the trap and started eating the peanut butter, they got trapped, yeah? So what we were able to do then was we were able to catch them and take them out of our house. Now, in today's story, we're going to learn about Joseph being tricked or trapped, okay? Someone tried to set a trap for him so that he would be tempted into doing the wrong thing. So let's watch our clip and find out what happens.
Stories of the Bible. Joseph in Egypt. This is Joseph, who was the son of Israel and Rachel. He was his father's favorite, so his brothers hated him and sold him into slavery. You see, Joseph was taken to Egypt, and Potiphar, one of the Pharaoh's officials, bought him for his household. God was with Joseph, and he did well in Potiphar's house. Potiphar saw that God made everything Joseph did a success. So he put Joseph in charge of his whole house.
Yeah!
And God blessed Potiphar's house because of this. Potiphar's wife saw how well Joseph was doing in the house, and she wanted to make him do bad things. Joseph ran away from her because he wanted nothing to do with someone who would try to make him do the wrong thing. This made Potiphar's wife angry, and she wanted to be rid of Joseph. So she lied and made Potiphar believe that Joseph had done the bad things that she wanted him to do. Potiphar burned with anger against Joseph and sent him to prison. While Joseph was in prison, again, he did well, and the warden soon made him responsible for all that was done there. God was with Joseph and gave him success in whatever he did.
So we've just seen in our story clip that it was Potiphar's wife who was trying to get Joseph to do something wrong. The Bible says that Potiphar's wife liked Joseph so much, she actually wanted him to become her boyfriend. Now, Joseph knew that she was already married to Potiphar. And he also knew that if he did what she was asking him to do, that it would really make Potiphar very upset and very hurt. But not only that, because Joseph worshipped God, he knew that God had a rule that if someone was already married, that they couldn't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend as well. So Joseph knew that he didn't want to make God and Potiphar hurt and upset, so he didn't do what Potiphar's wife was asking him to do. Now, that made Potiphar's wife very angry, and she kept asking and asking and asking Joseph to do the wrong thing. So Joseph managed to stay away from her, but one day she set a trap for him. Joseph was in Potiphar's house doing his job as normal, but he didn't know that Potiphar's wife was in the house on her own along with him. So she snuck up on him and she tried to grab him. Now Joseph managed to get away, and he managed to wriggle out of his coat and run away. But then Potiphar's wife did something really bad. She told a lie. She went to her husband Potiphar and said, Joseph came into our house and he tried to attack me. He tried to hurt me. And look, here's his coat as proof that he did that. Well, Potiphar was very angry that Joseph had tried to hurt his wife. So he was so angry that he threw Joseph into prison. Now, I know what you must be thinking. That's not fair. Joseph didn't do anything wrong. In fact, he worked really, really hard to do the right thing. And you'd be right, it's not fair. But even in prison, the prison guard saw that Joseph was different because he had God living inside him. He saw that he was different from all the other prisoners. And again, just like what happened in Potiphar's house, Joseph was put in charge of things in the prison. So boys and girls, there are a couple of things I want you to remember about our story today. The first one is this. We all find ourselves in situations where we have a choice between doing the right thing and the wrong thing. And it's not always easy to do the right thing, and sometimes we're not even sure what the right thing is. So I would just say, ask God to help you to know what the right thing to do is, and then to do it. And like Joseph, if we're not sure what the right thing is, ask ourselves, is this going to hurt other people? And is this going to hurt God? And usually if the answer to that is yes, then it's not the right thing to do. The second thing is this. If you find yourself in a situation where you're in trouble for doing the right thing, like for example, maybe in school someone's being picked on and you've gone and you've stood up for them, and because of that you're getting a hard time now, God sees that you have done the right thing, even though it's really, really hard and it's not fair. He sees, and he's so pleased with you. And remember, just like Joseph, whatever situation you end up in, even if it's really, really hard, God promises he is going to be with you, and he can turn situations around so that he can use you to do so many good things for other people and for his good. And actually, in the end, what we'll find is if you tune in next week to see what God does next, this isn't the end of the story, because God has a plan that this is for Joseph's good. It doesn't feel it right now because he's in prison, but God has a much bigger plan that Joseph can't see yet, that is going to be so good for Joseph and so good for everybody else in his life. So boys and girls, tune in next week and see what God is going to do next.
In my wrestling and in my doubts, in my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. In the silence, you won't let go. In the questions, your truth will hold. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore. love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are my light, my lighthouse, my lighthouse, shining in the darkness. I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, my lighthouse. I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storms. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness. I will follow you. My lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore. Safe to shore.
Now it is time for our quiz. So tonight I have 6 questions to ask you about the story of Joseph. And for the last few weeks you have been learning this story, so hopefully you'll know most of the answers. You might want to play along on your own and see if you can challenge yourself to get maybe as many questions right as possible. Maybe you want to get 5 out of the 6 questions right. Or maybe if you're watching along with somebody else, like a brother or a sister or mum or dad, you might want to work as a little team to see how many you can get right when you work together. Or maybe you want to challenge somebody at home and see who can get the most questions right. It is completely up to you. So we'll get started with question number 1, and we are going right back to the beginning of the story about Joseph. And we know that Joseph came from a big family. He had lots of brothers. But my question to you is, how many brothers did he have? So have a little think, see if you can remember from a few weeks ago. And make sure you don't count Joseph in this, it's just how many brothers he had. So have a little think. Okay, and we are going to have a look. We have a wheel of answers, so we'll go to that and see what the right answer is. So well done if you got 11 for question number 1, because 11 is the number of brothers that Joseph had. Now we know that the brothers didn't like Joseph very much because he was the favourite son. So Joseph's dad, Jacob, treated him as the favourite and he gave him something special. Can you remember what that was? That is question number 2. So what special item did Joseph get from his dad? So have a little think back. You've maybe seen pictures of this before, which might help you remember. Okay, and let's go to our wheel of answers to find out. So well done if you got the answer to number 2 right. Jacob gave Joseph a special coat, and this made the other brothers quite jealous. So they came up with a plan to get rid of Joseph. They put him into a pit and they were going to leave him to die there. But then they saw some people passing by and they changed their plan a little. Can you remember what they did to Joseph then when they saw these people passing by? So have a little think. Okay, and let's find out. So if you said sell him for question number 3, you are absolutely right. The brothers decided to sell Joseph to make a little bit of money, and they sold him to some traders who were on their way to Egypt. And that brings us up to question number 4. Question number 4 is, when they got to Egypt, what did Joseph work as? So think, can you remember what did he do when he got to Egypt? Okay, and back to our wheel to find out. So the answer to question 4 is that Joseph worked as a slave in Egypt, and he worked as a slave for a man called Potiphar. For the first while, things were going really well. Joseph was working very hard, and Potiphar was really pleased with everything that Joseph was doing. But then things took a bit of a turn because somebody told lies about Joseph. Can you remember who that was? That's question number 5. So who told lies about Joseph? And that got him into a bit of trouble. Okay, let's find out what the answer to question 5 is. Well done if you said Potiphar's wife. She was the person who told lies about Joseph, and that got him into some trouble. Which again brings us on to question 6. So where did Potiphar send Joseph, or where did Potiphar put Joseph after hearing about this? This is our last question, so can you remember the last bit of the story that we have heard? Where did Joseph end up? Okay, and then last answer, let's find out what it is. So the answer to the last question is that Joseph ended up in prison. Boys and girls, that's the end of our quiz, so you might want to count up your scores. If you were competing against somebody else in your house, you might want to say who has won. It's the end of our quiz tonight, but it's not the end of the story about Joseph. So keep coming back over the next few Friday nights and you will find out lots more about the amazing story of Joseph and all of the things that God does in that story.